Levi Sherwood, welcome to the show. How are you doing, man?
Good, good. How are you? It's been a long time uh, between conversations. What was it like? About 10 years since we last seen each other?
I think so, more or less. Now I'm feeling old, man. 10 years, but you still look young, you still look good, still look fresh, man.
Oh, I was about to say the same, but yeah, 10 years older. Maybe not too much wiser, but yeah, it's been a long time. It goes fast.
Yeah, for sure. Levi, I really appreciate the time that you take to speak with me today. And man, I have so many things to ask you, but I'd like to start talking about FMX Legends. Well, the project is really interesting. And could you tell me more about that? What is that? Is that a FMX community? Is a FMX marketplace? Is that a online workshop? How do you define that?
Yeah, so the FMX Legends, it's something Adam and I have been working on for a little while now. We've combined forces. We're actually been working on it in the background for quite some time
Mm-hmm.
separately and without even knowing. And then we realized, so we just joined up and we're like, screw it, let's team up. We can make this twice as good and twice as big if we work together. So that's that. But what FMX Legends is it is a coaching platform as well as a FMX community. So we really want to get freestyle out to the masses. We want to
Cool.
motivate the next generation of freestyle motocross riders, and we want to give them somewhere to learn and somewhere we can pass our knowledge on to them so they can learn safely. We want to build a community around it. So we want to be able to connect all the riders around the world. And we're doing that through our community. We've got a full chat, multiple different things in there. We've also got our rider network, which is worldwide, and we have our FMX Legends compound database, which
Cool.
we've got 47, 48 members as of
Wow.
now. Compounds around the world, which are in 15 different countries. So that's that. And the whole point of that is a lot of the time, we meet people at events and whatnot, and they come up and they're like, "Man, I love to ride freestyle. Like, how do I do it?" And it's like, well, now we have a place, we have a platform for that. And they're like, "Well, next thing is, where do I go? I don't know where to ride freestyle." So we're like, "All right, well, let's find someone and we'll connect you up with them." So we want to keep building the compound database, and we want to get as many compounds as we can on there. So wherever you are in the world, you can access a spot to ride. We're also facilitating the next step of the rider's career if that's what they
Mhm.
choose. So we have a lot of people in the room that just come in, they just want to ride freestyle, do tricks, and they want to hang out, and that's as far as they want to take it, and that's great. We've got people in there that are just starting. We've got people in there that have been riding for a long time but are ready to step up into the professional side of
Mhm.
it, and then we've got professionals as well. But so what the we've got event opportunities within our room, which we have had a Monster Jam opportunity so far. We've got a
Cool.
tour in China. What else? We've got Adam's constantly got events in America, so we're just starting to grow that, and we've got a couple big companies in the background that we're working with for next year that we really want to get people spots on tours. So that's how we want to do it, and we want to offer these opportunities to our members. So yeah, I guess we've kind of created a place for the freestyle world to go, connect, ride, learn, and enjoy it together.
Sounds amazing. And I'm curious about something, Levi. Where do these subscribers mostly come from? Why did they decide to go the freestyle motocross path over the racing path? I mean, there is a pattern among these subscribers.
Um, that's a good question. I think it's the same reason why anyone will go to freestyle over motocross. I think I mean, I know why I did it. We enjoyed it. Like, we love racing and we love
Yeah.
riding tracks, but it's serious, man. And I've been out of the sport long enough, and I've dabbled in a little bit of speedway, and I always will go to the races and watch a bit of racing and stuff like that. And one thing I've learned, which I didn't realize when I was competing, is there's nothing like the freestyle motocross community.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's honestly, it's unheard of, and I think that's what draws people to it. Obviously, we love riding bikes, we love showing off, we love doing big tricks, we like riding events, but I think the fact that we can all be competitors or we're out riding shows together and always trying to one up each other, but we're still friends at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And not only that, like while we're doing it, everyone's egging everyone on, cheering
Hmm.
everyone on, and it's just a good place to be.
For
So
sure.
I think that's why people are drawn to freestyle.
Yeah, for sure. Well, related to that, I'd like to know your thoughts about something. Could you reflect about how freestyle motocross is different these days compared to, let's say, the golden era of freestyle motocross? I'm talking about 10, 12 years ago. Could you reflect about that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. It is definitely different. Like times have changed, and recently with doing a lot more podcasts and meeting people
Hmm.
and talking freestyle for a lot of people, it seems like obviously I think the biggest thing is competition.
Hmm.
Um, the competition scene is not what it was. The shows seem to be going good,
Hmm.
if not, just as good, if not better. Like I think there's still some really good tours around and some
Hmm.
awesome riding. But yeah, I think like with the change we're noticing and the more people I talk to, I think freestyle grew so fast in
Hmm.
the first 10 years that it really couldn't keep up with itself.
Hmm.
And then it kind of plateaued over the next 10 or so from there. And I think that's where we're at now is everyone's kind of like, all right, got up, shaking themselves off. Where are we at and where we're going to go now? Because I think it literally couldn't keep up with the pace it was going.
I
And
see.
now you've got like, I think now we've got a generation or two of riders that are, some of them are still riding, some of them are out of it. And, like people like myself who've I've done my time in the sport. I've been a rider for 20 something years. I still love riding.
Hmm.
I still want to be a part of it, but I don't want to be in the limelight. I don't want to be on in the shows. I don't want to ride the competitions, but I want to be in the back, in the back, helping people out and getting them in their spotlight. So I think now we have the generation that are willing and able to do that. It's going to help that next step to go forward.
That's really important. And Levi, I'd like to know your thoughts about something. How did social media impacted freestyle motocross? Do you think brands now prefer to put money more on social media than support real contests?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So like when I first started writing, obviously social media was it was like a MySpace or something, and Facebook maybe it was just on the scene, or not started writing, but started writing, at a high level professionally. And social media was non-existent. Our contracts were based around results and events, and logos on your bike. Like that was cool, man. But times change and you got to adapt. By the time my last contract I got from Red Bull had nothing to do with results, and all it had to do was followers, views, likes, all this stuff. And for me, that was one of the main reasons why I just stepped out of it. I was like, you know what? I've kind of done the competition thing and this and this and this. And that was just for me, though. But yeah, I think social media has definitely helped um, our sport. And I think it's definitely hurt it in a lot of ways. But when I say that, I think that's applicable to any part of any sport,
For
any part
sure.
of life.
For any business, for
There's pros
anything,
and
yeah, I
cons.
totally agree.
Yeah, I think, and I don't think it's a negative thing. I think it's just something that we have to learn and adapt to. Adapt to. Like throughout my career, I refused to adapt to it. I was a performance guy, and I love competitions, and I didn't like social media, so that was that. But I've learned to adapt to it now, and I think there's plenty of pros from it that we can take and utilize to grow the sport.
You said growth of the sport and FMX Legends, really important thing to do that. But what else do you think that could be done, to bring freestyle motocross contests back to the limelight again? Do you think, for example, bring that to, I don't know, maybe make that more digital, more close to other motorsports or something like that? I'd like to know, what do you think about that? What could be done to make freestyle motocross contests big again?
That's a very interesting one. I think it's quite an open-ended question in a certain sense. Like, there's so many different angles. I think I think a lot of it maybe, we come out swinging, it was so big, people nearly got bored or they got used to it. Um, I think the fact that we didn't really have a new generation come through in that 2010 to 2020-ish era, there was a few people. Don't get me wrong, there was a few new people and people coming through, but not like a whole new wave like we did see in the 2000s. For me, I think the excitement of that next generation, where you've got the underdog going
Hmm.
against the top dog, that's a big play, big factor in it. So that's why I was saying, like, I really want to see the next generation come up and come through because they've got that fresh energy. I think one of the reasons I started riding again is through coaching people here at my
Hmm.
house. And I'm riding with these kids, and I'm just thinking, man, I kind of want to join in, you know. And I start joining in, and I start riding. I'm like, man, I haven't had so much fun on a bike
Cool.
in years. And I'm mucking around. And I'm doing only the tricks I do, and I'm only doing upright tricks. I'm just doing what I'm teaching them, and I'm having heaps of fun. And as I kind of talk to you now, maybe that's what it is. Maybe for me to find the love and the passion again, I needed the next generation and around me to give me that excitement, that energy, and maybe that's all it needs on the main stage. I think there's a lot of other things we could talk about: ramps, airbags, setups, and costs involved, and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, like I keep going back to what we're doing with the FMX Legends, and I think bringing that next generation through will solve a lot of the problems that we have.
Cool. In that sense, what do you say that's, let's say, the next milestone for FMX Legends?
The next milestone, I think one of my big ones for the FMX Legends is I want to see one of our members come through and get out the other side and take on a career. Um, there's there's members in there already. I know they're not far from doing it. I would love to see an FMX Legends member standing on the top of a podium. You know, um, I'd just love to be a part of it and stand back and just be like, cool, we help with that. That's all I need.
That's amazing. And Levi, well, let's talk about Shogun innovations. Well, how did you start that, man?
Shogun Innovations, that came about through modifying my freestyle bikes. From maybe 2014, 2015, I started modifying and making parts and all sorts. I started with flip levers and stuff like that. Like, keep in mind, I've always been passionate about engineering since I was
Hmm.
a young kid. Definitely on the fabrication side of things, just making things. And then early 2010s, I started getting into carbon fiber,
Hmm.
started playing with that, and then I started like, all right, taking this a bit more serious. And so I was always doing stuff behind the scenes and mucking
Hmm.
around. And essentially, what really drove it was by the end of my career, I needed a competitive edge, and I got that through redesigning my bikes.
Hmm.
I was making them lighter. I was changing the swing arms, changing the triple clamps. I was remaking gas tanks. Go on my social media, you'll see like anything I could have done, I did. And then it got to the point I couldn't do any more to my bike. Like, I lost all this weight and I moved everything around, and it was riding so good um, that I was like, I need to make my own bike. This is
Hmm.
the next step because I'd done it the best I could to the KTM
Hmm.
250 SX, and it was awesome, man. Like, this bike, I still ride it from time to time now. This last
Hmm.
competition bike I made, and It's I love it. It's so freaking epic. I think it'd still be so far ahead of anyone else's bike that's out there. Um, that yeah, it was just cool. But that led me to make a new bike, and the reason being is the way the frame was designed. I couldn't make the bike any. I couldn't change the geometry, and
Hmm.
then I couldn't position any more weight in the middle of the bike, which is very key. Not just for freestyle, any sort of performance like
Hmm.
motorsport. Um, and I broke my ankle in 2018.
Hmm.
So I had 6 months up my sleeve, and at this stage, I'd never done any sort of CAD design or anything. Like, I had no idea. So I was like, all right, well, I'll learn that. That's my next thing to do. So I learned that, and the first thing I designed was this bike. It took me 2 years, but I
I
did.
was about to ask that.
Um,
How long did it take?
it took me about 2 years to design the bike. Now, I designed it. There was three complete So the bike that I built, which is the Shogun bike, all carbon fiber, that version
Mm-hmm.
is 3.5. That was the one that I set on, and I was like, right, this is the one getting produced. But there was three full different bikes that I designed in the lead up to that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, anyway, that snowballed the whole Shogun Innovations thing. So I was 2018, I was like, right, I'm going to build a bike. And I started doing that. And then at that stage, within that, I was like, all right, I feel like I'm done with freestyle. I'm done competing. It's time to move on. But I really wanted to finish this bike. So I finished the bike, and I ended up building two of them. I built one for myself
Mm-hmm.
and one for a customer, a good friend of mine.
Cool.
And it's sitting in a cabinet in his lounge. It is very cool. But and then from that, obviously, I rode the bike, and it was what it was. And
Mm-hmm.
if I had have been more competitive or not at the end of my career, I think that I really could have done some cool stuff on that bike. But I had nothing left to prove, man. I was like, I don't want to get hurt. I'll ride it, make sure it works, and it was a blast. But it's just sitting downstairs now. But from that's where I learned the bulk of what I do, like 3D printing, a lot of machining. I really refined all the carbon fiber work with that bike, and then design. Obviously, that really got me going with the CAD design. So yeah, that kind of kick-started Shogun Innovations, and then from there, I made a few different freestyle parts at that stage, like swing arms and triple clamps and hooks and stuff for people. And then I kind of ventured off and ended up doing a lot of work locally for mostly race car guys, like engine builders. I do a lot
Mm-hmm.
of 3D scanning, 3D printing, um, all sorts, a ton of 3D scanning and design work, like just all sorts of stuff like that. Intakes, cylinder heads, would like one of the designed a crank for a Ferrari motor one time. That was interesting. I was like,
Cool.
I never really figured I was doing. I'll be doing something like this. Like I had a lot of help doing it, but still, was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So all sorts of stuff. But race cars is what would pay the bills essentially with the
Mm-hmm.
with the engineering, and then anything to do with dirt bikes is just a hobby. Like even now, like the Shogun parts for freestyle starting to do quite well, and everyone's starting to kind of pick up on them. But it's still such small numbers. It's nothing but a hobby. I want to grow it to where it's more than a hobby for sure. But to do
I
that, I need to
see.
grow the sport and the education around it.
Man, I have to say, I'm really curious about the Shogun FMX bike. I have seen that. I'm really impressed about that. The bike is super light. I think it's more or less 81 kilos. But man, you got no plans anymore for that?
Yeah. So that bike that feels like a huge chunk of my life. But yeah, 81.6 kilos was that bike, and that's wet. Bear in mind, most bikes, whenever you see a weight online, it's always dry weight, and I
Mm-hmm.
just refuse to do that because I want to talk riding weight. So I think your dry weight of a stock KTM 250 SX is 101 kilos, um, which would probably take the wet weight up to like 104, maybe 103,
Mm-hmm.
104. And yeah, that bike's 81 kilos. So that was a huge achievement for me. Bear in mind, when I started this, the KTM weighed about 105,
Yeah,
106 dry.
yeah.
So I was actually a little bit pissed off because I really wanted a bike in the 70s. I was like chasing 79.9 kilos, and I still am. I'm going to build a bike in the 70s one day, a functional riding bike. But yeah, so that bike, I don't intend to do any more with it. If someone comes to me and they're like, "Hey, I want to build one for a collection," maybe I'll do it. There's so much time involved. It took me about 6 months to build the first one, and I was
Wow.
hustling. The second one I built over a span of a year. Um, the if I you could turn it into something. But anyway, point of the story is I designed that bike, and I wanted to make the best freestyle bike I ever could. I didn't care about the cost. It cost me like a small fortune to make that thing.
I can
A,
imagine.
a very like substantial amount of money, and then it took me a lot of time to design it. And when I was designing it, it was every single part's like, how can I make this be the best that it can be to perform, and do exactly what I need. I didn't really care about how long it took to produce or the cost. So those are two huge factors
For
when you're
sure. Yeah,
building
yeah.
bikes.
For
Like
any
they're the most
business.
important. More, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was doing it on the hobby side of it, and so it's all good. I think that bike is by far the best thing I could have made, but I don't want to make more because they take too long and too expensive. So going forward, I've actually designed. I've got a concept, and I nearly finished it actually last year, and then kind of got caught up with the FMX Legends so much this year. I
Hmm.
haven't actually even resort. I've done any engineering or anything this year. I've just only done FMX Legends and Shogun stuff, Shogun parts. So this the new bike is a this bike I want to take to the mainstream. It's electric.
Cool.
It is it's looking like it's going to be about 85 kilos riding weight. Interchangeable batteries. It and it will cost like far, far, far less, and I could be able to probably produce it in 1 or 2 days
Cool,
versus
man.
six
That's
months.
amazing.
So yeah, but like that is there's a big focus of mine, but it has been put on the back burner for the moment because I just don't have the time to do it, and it's still going to be very expensive. So right now, if I was to produce that bike, it is going to be probably, if you're a top 10 rider, you probably want to buy it,
Hmm.
but someone who's starting out freestyle is probably not going to spend that much money on a bike. Whereas that's the next step. If when I do go back to it, is like, how do I produce this at an affordable rate where it costs no more than the bike at the dealership? Which there's only one way to do that, and that's team up with someone to produce it. So um, yeah, so there is big plans in the making
Cool.
for the freestyle bikes, but they are not. Yeah, I guess they are on a bit of they're on hold at the moment while we get FMX Legends up and running.
I can imagine. I have to ask you that. Kind of powertrain are you planning to use in this bike? You said electric, but
Yeah, so it's a full electric. We've got our own battery. We have a controller and a motor. The motor's out of America. I don't
Mhm.
really want to talk too much about the details of it. And then we have another company that have done the controller. So
Mhm.
full custom battery, and then you can actually buy the controllers and the motors. These are nothing which you'll see in like the cheap kit sets and all of that stuff. Like I actually when I very first started this,
Mhm.
um, I got introduced to a guy who was making kit sets for bikes and stuff like that, and they were nice kit sets, but they weren't what I wanted. Like I constantly had to fight. I'm like, what's the best we can
Mhm.
get? Not what's the cheapest, not what's good. Like,
That's your
what's the
quest,
best? I
let's
want the
say.
best. Yeah. So anyway, so I found another guy and I teamed up and we started from scratch.
Cool, man. So let's talk about Shogun Showdown. You just had your first edition a few months ago. So could you tell me more about that and what are the plans for 2026?
Yeah, Shogun Showdown. That was cool. It was. I'm not even sure how that came about. It was after I'd started coaching people, and it was once I realized, right, this is what I want to do. At this stage, the FMX Legends was being built, but it wasn't the FMX Legends as we know it because I wasn't teamed up with Adam at this stage. But I realized to grow the sport, we need to bring the next generation through. I need to create all the custom products need to be aftermarket. You need to be able to buy them off the shelf. So I was like, sweet, well, I've done that. I'm working on the next generation. And then I thought, well, once the next generation is here, what have they got to look forward to? What have they got to aspire to? So there's no competitions in New Zealand. So, right, all right, we'll hold a competition. And that's what I did. So I invited every New Zealand freestyler on the scene, and at that stage, it's just at my home property. I also introduced BMX, and I had Jed Milden set up here, and that was awesome inviting them. They such good crew and such good riders. It was awesome to bring that energy to the show. And then I sent out a few hundred invites to friends, family, and people I know. And that was that. It was a semi-private event, and it was just a grassroots freestyle comp. It was an amateur freestyle comp. And honestly, I loved it. Everyone loved it. We had such a good weekend, and it kick-started, hopefully, what's to come. I'm going to do Shogun Showdown next year, and it's pretty daunting, like I only done this one privately, and it was so much to organize and take care of everyone, and it's so expensive, man. Like even just a private event like that cost me a lot of money, but I'll chase sponsors next year,
Yeah, yeah,
and then
I
I'm going
was
to open
about
up the
to
doors.
tell you
So
that, man. I'm sure you can find some supporters and
yeah,
so
yeah.
on.
I just noticed like with things, if I want financial backing through sponsorship with things, it honestly slows everything down and it puts a halt on it. And I want to move quick. So
Yeah.
I'm like, right, I'll fund the first one, we'll get it done, I'll get content out there, we'll build a name, and then I'll chase sponsors and I'll open up the doors next time. So it's an investment on my end. And same goes with the bike. Like when I first built the bike, there were people around me that wanted to be a part of it and support it through
Hmm.
filming and producing content. And at that stage, Red Bull was interested in like funding some of it.
Hmm.
But these people move so slow. And then
Yeah.
at the end of it, it could just be like, sorry, dude, we don't want to be a part of it. So I was like, right, full steam ahead. I'll just do it all myself. And it all comes around in roundabouts. So yeah, same thing with Showdown. It was right. I'll do it, get it done, and now everyone's interested. We want to bring some more people in and bring the spectators, bring the sponsors, and keep it going. I want to keep it that grassroots vibe. I want to keep it on my property. I'm open to taking it other places, but it was such a fun event. So yeah, that's
I
how that
want
came
to see
about.
that, and I want to see that. And Levi, can you talk about your career? Well, there's something that I always have been curious to know. Well, you debuted on Red Bull X Fighters Mexico in 2009 at the age of 17. So, how did that come up, man?
Yeah, that was what kickstarted my career. Like winning that, honestly, I think it wasn't easy, but like that, I had to bust ass every time after that. But it's like, boom, straight to the top. I went from like here to like, oh, he's serious. Right now, let's play with the big boys. So, um, how did that come about, man? I started riding freestyle at 8 or 9, so when I was 17. So I was nearly 10 years in at that stage. And rode in New Zealand, rode demos here. I rode Crossy Tour here, ended up riding Crossy Tour in Australia. And then that introduced me to a lot of people in Australia. And I done maybe a season in Australia full time before that. And that got me noticed by my manager, Russ, or who wasn't my manager at that time, but guy Russell Stratton. And got on his radar, and now he was already taking care of Matt Rabot, and he had connections at Red Bull. And then at that stage in 2009, maybe it was 2008. We were talking. They were talking about hosting a athlete camp or whatever they want to call it. I can't remember what it was, but it's to pretty much find the next generation of freestyle guys. Potential Red Bull rider and someone to kind of bring up through the way. And so I got invited to that. It was myself, Lance Corey, I'm pretty sure Rob Alderberg was there. I think Jacko was there. Maybe a couple other guys. Honestly, it's so many years ago now, but there was a bunch of us, and so I got invited to California. It's first time going to the States. First time I actually signed up with Russ at that stage, and met all these people. It was wild, man. We were supposed to be there for 2 weeks, maybe a week. I was supposed to be there, and at the end of that, Twitch actually pulled out of Red Bull X Fighters in Mexico. So there was a spot open. And I think Tess, who was major, like Tess Sewell, who was on the production side of Red Bull X Fighters, pretty sure he was there. And obviously Red Bull was there. And from that came out, I got like the wild card to Red Bull X Fighters. They're like, oh, let's give this kid a shot. And I remember them asking me, or Russ was asking, someone was asking me, and they're like, hey man, you want to ride X Fighters next week? Because it was like literally a week or two after, and I'm like,
Out of the
holy shit,
blue.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was like, huh. Because the funny thing is, I'd been watching X Fighters that whole time. I watch X Games even since I was young. I was like, man, I could go and do this. I could do that. And not only that, I thought I'd be competitive. I was like, I'll win this. And because you're young and confident, and that's how it is. Like I'd never say that to someone, but I can say now in hindsight, that's how I thought. But That's how it came about. And I get this opportunity, and I get asked it, and I'm like, oh shit, do I want to do it? I don't know if I want to do that. And I talked to my dad, because my dad was with me in California at the time. And we're like, man, just do it. You'd be a fool not to, you know. So we hang out for another week in California. I rode with Matt Ribot and whoever else was at the compound, and went down to Mexico. And I didn't really know at that stage, like, of course I wanted to win it, but I don't know if I could win it, or where I really was. But like, it wasn't until I was on the ground, we done qualifying, and I got qualifying. I got fourth in qualifying, and I was like, man, I could win this, because I was a bit pissed off with fourth in qualifying, you know. And so then there's things I had to change and do to obviously step up to that next level. And then definitely things that could have not gone my way on the night went my way. You know, you've been a part of X Fighters. Like, it's just the nature of the beast. Like, sometimes you win it, or like sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't. And like, Matt never let me forget about this one time. I didn't do a dead sailor, but I turned the wrong way on the course, and I boosted past the ramp that he thought I should have been jumping. He never let me forget it, man, and I beat him. And then I think it was me and Igo in the final. But yeah, anyway, it was that's kind of how it played in. Like, I remember I knew on the day of it I could win it, but when I went there, I wasn't necessarily thinking I could win. I knew I could be competitive, yeah. So that's how that came about. It was a series of it was good fortune, I think. You know, I don't want to really say luck. I don't really believe in that, because, you know, I could have got the opportunity and not been prepared. But yeah, it was a lot of things just had to fall into place for that to happen.
I can imagine. Man, you are probably the most stylish freestyle motocross rider that the sport has ever seen. But that just came up naturally, or did you put some effort on that?
Thank you. I appreciate that. But does it come naturally? I think it does. Did I put effort into it? Yes, I definitely did, once I knew that's what people liked about my riding. It's like, all right, okay, style, sweet. I'm good at that. Let's add some more to it. You know, like, let's hang out a bit longer. Let's extend it. And there's times to be fast in a trick, and there's time to be slow. And I think maybe I just naturally knew that, and I could exaggerate it. You want to make the trick look good. Like, it's like anything. I'm passionate about anything I do, whether it's engineering, riding bikes, anything I do. You know, if it's, I don't know, whatever. But so my tricks are no different. If I'm going to do a trick, it's not to do the trick and tick the box. It's to make that trick look good. You know. So maybe that I always put style down to being lazy on the bike. I think if you're rushed and you move too quick, you ain't going to have no style. You know. So yeah, maybe a little bit of both.
Cool. And well, in 2012, you won Red Bull X Fighters. At that point in time, freestyle motocross was so competitive, man. And I'm curious about something. Well, you had to learn so many things to keep the pace with the other riders. What was the most challenging trick that you had to learn, and what was the hardest one?
That's a good question. The hardest thing that I had to learn was to adapt and change. Um, I think for a big part of my career, I'm still stubborn, man. I'm very stubborn. It's like, oh, if you want to do that, sweet, screw you, I'm going to do this anyway. And I definitely was penalized for it, for, you know, no fault of anyone else but my own. But yeah, I think learning to change was the hardest thing for me. The tricks, yeah, okay, they're hard to learn, but it's a process. You're just like, all right, I'm going to do this, and you ended up working through it. Hardest trick to learn, you know, it's. I nearly want to say like double grab flip or something. Like, if you actually want to talk about a trick, I'm not sure if that's the exact answer. Yeah, like double flips, scary, but really easy, really easy. Double grab flips or no hand double flips. So when it came to learning double flip tricks, that was hard for me, because at that stage no one was doing it. So I had no reference to go on, So that was probably it. But yeah, tricks aside, I think learning to adapt and the mental side of learning was a big one for me.
I can imagine. And Levi, well, let's talk about the future. Now you are riding a Stark Varg. Why do you decide to ride a electric bike?
Interesting, funny one. Like me of all people, I laugh. Like if Levi 10 years ago seen me now riding a electric bike, I would be laughing. And also with the airbag stuff, I'd also be laughing at that. Like I used to think they were a great tool, but I was one of those guys who was like hardcore and like, no, you have to do it to do it. And I think maybe that had something to do with the mental aspect of it. I really enjoyed the um, the mental side of freestyle. Like I felt like that was probably my strongest point. Was I was mentally strong, and I could really, if I was decided to, I'd switch it on or off. Like right, this was happening, and nothing would get in my way. So I always would advocate for like dirt and all of that. I wanted it to be hard for people, and I want people nervous and scared of it. So because it didn't bother me. But anyway, I'm kind of going off track there. So a couple of those things are interesting. But with the Stark Varg, why did I start riding that? I rode the. It came about because I was designing an electric bike.
Mm-hmm.
So I've actually got an Alta here as well. So I rode
Mm-hmm.
that, and I thought, man, that's an awesome bike. Like it was
Yeah.
a really good bike. It still wasn't the best bike. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't. It was good. It was a good
Mm-hmm.
initial concept, and at that time, it was the best was around. But it didn't have me sold on electric bikes, and so I went back to riding my combustion bikes. On this is riding motocross, and the Start came out, and at this stage, I had already started designing the electric freestyle bike. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
man, I have to go try ride this. This
Yeah.
is awesome. And I'd seen so much online, and I think that's the most well engineered. And keep in mind, I've got nothing to do with Stark, like at this stage, and still currently. So it's the most well engineered bike I've ever seen. So that's the engineer side of me. It's like, man, this bike's beautiful. I want to
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
ride it. Everything's done. It's
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 pretty
it's so
elegant.
nice.
Yeah, I
And
like that.
yeah, yeah, and it's then the dirt bike riding side of me went and rode it, and I was like, holy crap! If you've ridden one, anyone who's listening would have ridden one, and I think same thing. They're like, it's the best bike I've ever ridden.
Mm-hmm.
It's and then so that was the demo. It was a local demo bike, so I would go back to riding my 252 stroke, and I'm like, wasn't riding much at that stage, and it was what it was. And I was like, screw it, I'm going to put a motocross track in at home. So we put a motor track in, and natural terrain, a lot of fun. And I spent the day riding my two stroke. I'm like, man, I just don't have that in me anymore. I need to get a new bike. So, and keep in mind at this stage, I was still getting bikes from KTM, so I could get on
Wow.
the phone and order a new a new 450 or whatever. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, I need a 450. They're nice and easy to ride. I'll do that. And I'm like, there's just something at me. I'm like, I need an electric. I need a Stark. And so it's either go get a free 450 or go pay freaking how much. It was like nearly 20 grand at that stage of the initial run out for a Stark. And I'm like, screw it. So next day I went off and bought a Stark, and I
That
haven't
was a
looked back,
bold
man.
move, man. I have to say that.
Yeah, no, me too. I was like, I haven't bought a bike in freaking 15, 20 years, and this is what happened. But yeah, so I got the bike and I rode every single day, like every day. I haven't ridden much in years, and I couldn't stay off it. And that led from riding motocross. And at that stage, I was coaching a bit, and I was like, I still didn't jump the Stark on the ramp.
Mm-hmm.
I pulled out my old competition bike and got it all ready, and I rode freestyle on that a bit, and that was kind of cool. And then I was like, man, I kind of had enough. Like my freestyle bikes are very high maintenance and very particular, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very particular. So like the last time I rode that bike was 2 years ago, and I tore it all down and fully rebuilt it. And it had only done 5 or 6 hours at the stage, but it hadn't been ridden for like a year and a half at that stage. So each time I ride it is pull it down, go over it, make sure everything's mint, because I can't process
Mm-hmm.
the risk of it. So, and I don't ride frequent enough to not do this. So I'm like, I'm getting a bit tired of that. I want to ride my Stark on the ramp. That's so much nicer to ride. And so anyway, one of the next times I had kids over, because I don't want to go and like mad dog it and jump 75 for the first time. I had
Yeah.
no idea what I was doing. So I just joined in with the kids. We pushed the ramp in, and we're back at 75 in, a matter of an hour or something. And I was playing around on it, and I had so much fun. it was so comfortable for me. I didn't need to worry about fuel or plugs or jetting or anything like that. And then, not that I worry about that, but still, it's in the back of your mind. And I rode this bike stock for maybe, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months on the ramp, 4 months maybe, dead stock. And all I
Wow.
was doing was like small ass whips and upright tricks and flips. No dampener, no grabs, no suspension. And then I was like, oh, screw it. I'll do some grabs, and I done cut some grabs out, and the
Hmm.
suspension on it was pretty decent, but the forks would still blow through on the ramp. They weren't stiff enough, and I was like really having a hard time with like consistency of tricks, which is like quite uncommon for me from what I remember how I rode. And I was like, man, I'm hoping this is the suspension, because if that's the case, I've completely lost it. Like, I've taken a step back in my level of
Hmm.
riding 100%, but I was like, man, I've lost it if I can't get that. So I finally got the suspension done, and I'm like, oh, okay, I feel like myself again. Like, consistency's there, and I'm back doing tricks, and it is what it is. But yeah, that's how it kind of came about. I just started riding it, and I was just naturally kind of drawn to it. And then also the fact that I think that electric's the future anyway with freestyle. Um, it just goes hand in hand. It just worked, and yeah, I haven't looked back, man. I love it.
I was about to ask you that. So, do you think the filter is electric, or at least at part of the filter? Could you elaborate more on that a little bit? I really wanna know what you think about that.
What I say with the future of freestyle. So when people really get serious about their bikes and they want to change the game, so we see within the whips, right? The start can
Yeah,
do amazing whips, and it's all to do with the physics and the inertia of the wheels, and you've got no rotating mass through
yeah,
gearbox, crank, pistons, rods, valves, if you're on a four-stroke, cam chains, everything like that, clutches. So you still got rotating mass of the motor, and you've still got
yeah.
a transfer case, but this is very minimal. And the rest of the weight on the bike is static. So that's a huge benefit. So one of the biggest limitations on a freestyle bike is your rotational mass, so your
Yeah, the
gyroscopic
rotation
force that
inertia.
keeps
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
yeah, keeps you straight. So that's why I started making the electric bike. Was I feel like I built the best I could freestyle bike, and the only way forward for me to make a better freestyle bike was to go electric.
Hmm.
Um, there's so many benefits which I will not talk about until my bike's released that you gain from being electric, and the things that I can design within the bike that will change the game is insane. It's just opened up a whole new world as
Hmm.
far as the performance of the bike goes. There's also the side of it, like I know in New Zealand we're pretty fortunate. You can kind of take a dirt bike nearly anywhere. You're not going to get, I mean, not public places or something,
Hmm.
but you're not going to, my neighbors don't complain at the noise, you know.
Yeah, it's not
Um,
Europe.
no, that's what I'm saying. Like in Europe and places in America, it's going to completely open up where we can ride freestyle. In Australia too, like when I lived there, I had a hard time um, riding with noise and everything like that. So, and then we've got airbags, we've got electric bikes. We can go set up anywhere, and then all of a sudden, like people love you because you're on an electric bike. I don't know what the difference is apart from the noise. So it's cool, man. Like it's going to open up so much for us that I don't think we quite understand the potential. I think combustion will always have its place, um, and I don't think they're finished within the sport. But they won't keep up. Like once freestyle really adopts the electric bike, they will not keep up with it. There's no chance. Yeah.
See. Well, Levi, before I let you go, where do you see FMX Legends, Shogun Innovations, and the Shogun Showdown in, let's say, 5 years?
5 years. That's
5 to 10 years.
yeah, no. I think I dream big, so I got big plans. I'll tell you some of them, but not all of them. The real ones that matter to me, I don't really tell people. But I can foresee FMX Legends and the Shogun Showdown combining.
Hmm.
That's a natural path.
For sure.
FMX Legends, I Adam and I both want to grow to be a major have a major spot in the sport, whether it's just teaching or providing opportunities or working with event promoters and guiding people. Um, And Shogun Innovations, I see, we're just going to keep building freestyle parts, going to keep putting out plans, we're going to keep doing that and keep aiding the what once was custom side of the sport. I
Hmm.
think by removing the custom side of things and making stuff available to everyone that can go and purchase it, go get it off the shelf, is going to help it a lot. So I think they're all going to work together a little bit, but we're going to keep growing them and
Hmm.
keep pushing forward. Adam and I have some big plans and things that are already in the making with FMX Legends. So can't really say much about it yet, but as months go by, you'll see them roll out.
Cool. And Levi, thank you. I really appreciate your insights. I really appreciate the talk. And well, tell me where people can find info about FMX Legends, websites, any kind of way to reach the you, Adam.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's been awesome catching up, Jose, and really appreciate your time. As a thank you to everyone listening, we want to provide a 3 month subscription to
Oh,
anyone who's listening. The discount code is inside FMX, all capitals. We'll put that down in the link, in the description. So jump on there, join up, and if you like it, stick around, and you'll learn a lot about it. You can find FMX Legends, fmxlegends.com, or the Instagram, Facebook. Shogun Innovations is just shogun.nz. That's where all my ramp plans are, and that's where all the freestyle parts are. Still do custom work on there. It's not as common now, but if you need anything custom, you can approach us on there. And apart from that, come say hello when you see us at events, or say hello when you're in the community.
thank you, Levi. It was a pleasure to reconnect to you after so long. And man, let's stay in touch, man.
Awesome. Thank you very much, and we'll stay in touch.